Hey friends, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name's Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph, and this is the Fiber Nymph Dye Works channel. It is Saturday, June 24th. It is after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which I hardly ever sit down to record at this time, but today is just one of those days, and so here I am. And also because it's this late in the day, the porch room is pretty much an oven at this time of year, late in the afternoon. So we're back in my bedroom. I know we have not been in here in quite some time, where you have not gotten to see this really lovely background of just wooden doors and a wooden wall and a light switch, because that's exciting. But here we are, and hopefully the sun isn't going to be too goofy. It's behind clouds right now. Mother Nature has not known what she was doing today. It's like, let's rain. Nope. 5 minutes later, let's be sunny. Nope, let's just be cloudy. Let's rain. All day long. It's made doing anything outside nearly impossible. And it's made going to rescue my daughter when her car decided to not work, and Bill had to fix it in a parking lot. Also, not a lot of fun. But that's totally a different story. And maybe I'll tell you more about it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. That's not where we're starting today. Anyway, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for coming by and visiting. I hope you'll enjoy what I talk about. I am actually going to talk about knitting and yarn and stuff like that. If you've been around for a while, thank you so much for coming back. I always post show notes in the drop down in the description box below. They're also posted on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog on my website and in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, so you can find information about everything I discuss in those areas. If you have any questions at all or comments about anything I talk about, which I enjoy reading your comments, so feel free to leave them. You can do that here in the YouTube comment thing or in any of those other locations, and I will be happy to reply. I also have a membership here on YouTube if you want to get a little bit of extra content throughout the month. That's also an option, and you can read more about that on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works main YouTube page, where it says join or see perks or whatever it says. I don't know. It changes occasionally. Okay, let's see. What's going on? Intro, announcements. I have not yet had a chance to do a video about our bicycle trip that we took last month. I promise I'm going to do that. It just has not happened yet. The show inventory in the shop, all the self-striping has been up for a couple of weeks. This week I did add all of the project sets. So there's a lot of full skein project sets, half skein project sets, various yarns, you know, fingering weights, DK weights. There was some worsted weight. I think I had one set of non-superwash, like the last of my ridgetop yarns, which there's also some DK weight of that in the shop, just as mix and match skeins that you can pick whatever you want. Yeah, so, and that is the very last of the ridgetop. I thought I had retired the ridgetop like a year ago, and then I accidentally found a box. Well, I didn't accidentally find it. I found the box of this DK weight yarn that I had never dyed, that I accidentally apparently lost in my studio. It was under a table. I thought something else was in the box. It happens. And because it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday, I am having an adult beverage. This is gin with ginger beer. Have you ever tried it with ginger beer? Not ginger ale. Ginger beer. Ginger beer has a bite to it, and it's so good. And I have some cucumber slices in it. Quite tasty. It's a lovely summer drink if you choose to imbibe. Very refreshing. Okay. Anyway, what else? I do still have the mini skein sets. Have not put those in the shop yet, but those will probably be going up, I would say probably like early July, like maybe the first week of July. So if you're on the newsletter list, you will get a newsletter letting you know about that. This week in the newsletter, I did announce that I was putting a summer solstice pre-order up for my Wheel of the Year colorway. Nope, Wheel of the Trees colorway. Wheel of the Year. It's sort of based on the Wheel of the Year, but it's called the Wheel of the Trees. Here's a picture of it. That pre-order will be up through this coming Wednesday. I've had this colorway waiting in the wings for quite a while. It was actually the colorway that I sent out to participants from the 2021 make along in the group, in the Ravelry group, which was the nature make along. So that was the year-end reward skein for people who had met whatever the criteria was to get that skein that year. And so I've never had it in the shop, and I've been holding on to it, and every time like a solstice or an equinox comes around, I think, ooh, maybe I'll put it in now. And I haven't up until this year. And this year I thought, you know what, I'm putting it in. I'm putting it in now. It was just sort of a spur of the moment thing. So it is up for pre-order just for a week. Put it up last Wednesday. It's coming down this Wednesday. I'm sure I'll have it in the shop again at some point, but if you want it now, now's your chance. And lastly, I told you last time, the Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club that's coming up, which is all about butterflies and moths. I will be putting that up in the shop for signups on Friday, June 30th. So that will be at the end of next week. I don't know that I'll be doing another video before then, so that's why I'm letting you know now. But again, if you get my newsletter, I will send out a reminder about it a couple days in advance. And if you don't get my newsletter, maybe sign up for it. I don't send that many newsletters out, maybe one a week usually, very rarely more than one a week, often not even one a week. But yeah, and you can sign up for the newsletter on any page of my website, which is fibernymphdyworks.com. Okay, let's get into crafting. If I sound like I'm trying to talk fast, I'm probably trying to talk fast because A, late in the day, B, I'm sitting right in a sunbeam right now and it's kind of warm. I do have the ceiling fan on, but C, I have the window closed in here because Bill is outside splitting firewood and the log splitter is really, really loud and it carries, and it would just be really awful to have that in the background here. So I have the window shut just for you. So I'm a little warm. Hence, I need an icy beverage. But I would also like to keep this episode to a manageable amount of time. Let's start with some crafting. Now, I'm going to start out by letting you know that I'm going to be going through things in kind of a weird order and in weird categories as opposed to my usual categories. Oh, look, I have my show notes on a piece of paper, and if I hold it here in the sunlight, it's like I have one of those, what are they called? Like the fancy lighting people who have those white things, reflectors, I don't remember what they're called, that bounces the light off to give you a really nice glow. There. A nice glow. Look how professional this lighting is this week. I'm ridiculous. Okay. My first category of crafting is things that are probably going to be put on indefinite hold. The reason I have this as a category is because as we work through things this week, you're going to hear that there's two things that absolutely have to be top priority from now, probably through the end of July. No questions asked. That's what everything else pretty much is getting put into this things that are probably going to be on indefinite hold. First one is my June personal stash yarn challenge project. Last episode, I opened my bag with my June personal stash yarn challenge yarn in it. It was the 2 skeins of Alafosslopi. Beautiful yarn. I know exactly what I want to make with them. I bought that yarn with a cowl in mind. I searched high and low. I cannot find the cowl pattern anywhere that I wanted to make with it. And the more I think about it, the more I think maybe it was a cowl that I saw on somebody's podcast and that they had just improvised it. That seems like that might have been what it was. So it wasn't an actual pattern. It was just somebody's personal thing that they did. And I probably saved that idea thinking that I would also just be able to find a colorwork pattern that I could transpose into a cowl setup. And so I don't really have a pattern in mind, a specific pattern. And since I have other things that absolutely have to come first, I'm not going to stress it right now. I'm going to set that yarn aside. I will get to it eventually because I really do want to make something out of it, but just not right now. So that June yarn, it's on hold. Another project that's kind of on hold is my April personal stash yarn project, which was the Wonderland yarns that I'm weaving with. It is on the loom. I did work on it I don't think I worked on it since I've talked to you last. If I did, it was for a very little bit of time. It's not exciting me right now. I mean, I want to do it. I'm having a little bit of an issue with it though. And so I'm just sort of putting it in timeout and just letting it sit there. I'll get to it. I will get to it. But just not right now. It's on indefinite hold. Ditto Bill's socks. The Pub Vibe socks that I was making him for his birthday, which he knew he wasn't. I mean, I only had one done for his birthday. I probably did bring that in. Let me see if that's in one of these bags. I can't remember. Nope, it's not that bag. Maybe I didn't bring it in. I probably didn't, because I don't think I really worked on it much since you saw it last. If I did, it was just a couple of rounds, like at the breakfast table or something. I've finished the gusset decreases on the second sock, and so I'm just on the foot right now. It won't take long to finish the socks, but again, it's not my top priority right now. He does not need them right now, so I'm not really pushing myself to get them done right now. So again, indefinite hold. If I have a little bit of time to work on them, I will. Otherwise, I'm not stressing it. Now, moving into some works in progress that I have actually worked on since I've talked to you last. We've got my May Personal Stash Yarn Challenge project, which is, I'm not even sure that I worked on this much since I talked to you last either. Well, I did actually work on it because I didn't have the second half of it cast on. It's the Favorite Scarf Ever by Lisa Bruce, and I showed you the first half last week. I'm not going to pull it out of the bag again, but I did actually manage to get the second half cast on. I had a false start with it once. I had tried casting it on from memory, and I totally messed up the stitch count, and so I had to really sit down and try to figure that out. So I did get it cast on. So here it is. Again, I've just got, maybe 2.5 inches on here so far. And here are the yarns. So this is Good Luck Black Cat, and this is a little mini that came with it. This is Dragon Horde Yarns in her Myth fingering base. And this scarf is a chevron design. It's worked from the two outside ends in, so you have half your yarn. You work them both halves, and then you seam them in this center. And yeah, I'm enjoying this. I love this pattern. You guys know I love my chevrons. It's just, again, not a high priority right now. It will get done, just maybe not in the immediate future. So, something else that's probably going on to indefinite hold for the time being. Okay, then I had the audacity this week to cast something new on. Now, you all know where this whole thing's going, right? Based on last episode and what I told you my big project had to be. We're going to get there. But meanwhile, I told you last time I had absolutely no business casting on anything new, let alone like a big project or a sweater or anything. And I didn't. I didn't cast on a garment. But I did cast on an accessory. And the whole reason I cast this on was because I came across this yarn while I was going through my fiber stash trying to get ready for Tour de Fleece and pulling out fibers that I wanted to spin for Tour de Fleece. And for whatever reason, this yarn was in there. And this is some leftover yarn from my combo spin that I did a few years back for my weekender pullover. I had a lot of yarn left over from that combo spin, and I had pulled it out because, like I said, it was in with fiber, but also because I had just been telling somebody else, you know what, knit with your hand spun. It's so rewarding. And I love knitting with my hand spun, you know that. But I hadn't. Well, I had, because that Highland slipover, that was all hand spun that I did this year. But I wanted to do something, so I started a project. And this is the DRK Everyday Cowl. I've seen this cowl, and initially it did not excite me. But then I started seeing hand spun versions of it, and I'm like, oh, those look really nice. Now the patterning is not showing up super well here. It's dark. Oh, there, that light actually sort of helps right there. See, I have to cover my face to get it to work well. Basically, you've got these garter stitch columns that have slipped stitch lines that separate them. Can you see that? So let's see, where was the cast on point? This was this? Oh, you cast on here, and then you work out and it gets bigger and bigger, and actually it gets bigger on one side. I don't know what I'm showing you. I think this is the side it gets bigger. It's got an I-cord edge on this side, and this was the side that was increasing, and then now it's got this I-cord edge here. It's still increasing on one side. I want to say it's maybe this side. I honestly can't tell right now. It's so great when I can tell you these details like this. Anyway, this is the edge that will get seamed at the back, I think. I may have that wrong. Maybe this is the edge that gets seamed at the back. I don't know. There's an edge. It gets seamed at the back, and then you've got like a bandana style cowl. I swear I've only taken the few sips of this beverage that you've seen me take. I just am confused. I do have things printed out. I didn't print out the schematic though, so I can't even show you that. I just printed out the directions because I had them on my phone, except if I'm knitting on this in the morning, I'm usually also watching a podcast on my phone, so I can't really do both at the same time. Yeah. Anyway, it's a really cute cow. I don't think it'll take me very long to do because I'm doing it in, this is, I would say, worsted weight yarn. I think it is going to turn out a little bit bigger than it's meant to be for the small size, but it'll be fine. Just put a pin in it or something and get it tight around my neck. It'll be great. But I have a whole lot of this leftover yarn. I had a whole lot of like little bips and bobs of it. Ooh, look at that one. Totally different color there. Anyway, so I thought it would be fun to do this. And I may also at some point do a hat, because I know I'm going to have enough yarn. I could probably do a hat and mitts and a cowl and just have like an entire set to wear with my sweater. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, I cast this on this week, and it's living in this old school Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. I absolutely love this fiber. I posted it to Instagram and tagged her, and she's like, wow, that's like a really, really old bag, and it is, but I love it. The eggs are just whimsical. So anyway, not a top priority though. I'll get around to it eventually, but it's just not my top priority right now. What is my top priority right now? I know you're saying it out there. My grandson's graduation / going to college blanket. Yes, that is it. That is what needs to have almost all of my attention between now and the first week of August when he's going to be coming up here to visit. I need to have it done by then. So, last time we talked, I showed you the yarn that I had bought for this, right? These two yarns. Cascade 220 Superwash in this really pretty foresty heather and straw, both heathered colors, lovely. The only problem is, and I believe I showed the picture, and if I still have it, I'll put it in here again, the color of UNCC, where he's going to be going, is not this dark green. It's a brighter green. But I couldn't find a brighter green that would go with this gold, because this gold is spot on for the gold in his school colors. And I really wanted another heathered yarn to go with it. And this was as close as I could get, but it's way too dark. And I know a bunch of you said, you know what, just use it. The colors look great together. He'll love it no matter what. And I know you're right. I absolutely know you are right. He would be fine with it. I would not be fine with it though. And I could not stop thinking about it. And so I kept getting on the Loopy Use website and looking at the different greens. And finally, I was talking to my daughter. I think I even told you because I'd been commiserating with her over this. And I don't know why I feel like she's like the expert on college colors because she works at a college bookstore. Not this college that I'm dealing with, but like she knows her college colors. And so she's like, yeah, that green's not right. And so I was showing her different ones. And finally, we landed on this one. And so I ordered this one. This, with this. I was not sold on this green with this gold because again, heathered, not heathered. However, like perfect colors, perfect colors. So I had originally ordered 6 balls of this and 6 balls of that dark green. So I instead ordered 6 balls of this green. And yardage wise, I was going by some blankets I've made in the past, especially the one I made for Emma when she was in college. However, that one was not a garter stitch blanket, and that's going to become an important point here in a minute. And it was also a little late. It was actually a chevron, so it had some laciness to it within the pattern. Anyway, I finally got this yarn, so I could start this. So I decided to start playing around, because I also still had not figured out the pattern that I wanted to do with this. I originally thought, he's a boy, keep it simple, do stripes, whatever. However, once I got that green yarn, I was looking at the calendar, I'm thinking, okay, I have a little bit over a month to get this done. And I know 3 things about myself. Number 1, doing long stripes in stockinette or garter for that matter, just long continuous back and forth, is going to bore me to tears, especially since I'm only working with 2 colors. It's going to feel like a slog, and I don't have time to get bogged down by something sloggy. And also, as we progress through the summer, it's going to get hotter, and as that blanket gets bigger, it's going to be on my body, and it's going to be hot, and I don't think that's going to help my motivation. So I decided instead I was going to do mitered squares, because why not? Mitered squares are awesome. I love making mitered squares. And so the other thing was, I also wanted to figure out if I was going to like these 2 yarns together. So I did my first test mitered square, and here it is. And I actually really do like it. Let's see, if I put it over here, the light's a little better. And it's not a bright gold. It's a very brownish gold when it's up against this green. I'm showing you the wrong side. There we go. That's better. Although it does not look bad on this side either. So as a boy, if he's got it flipped upside down, it won't matter. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care either way. I know this, but you know, here we go. I really like it. I was very pleased with how it looked. And I'm like, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. This looks great. And so I did this. Now, this turned out to be a 6-inch square. Exactly. I'm like, okay, I can do this. But then I started thinking, do I really want it to be garter? Because it's a little dense. I mean, I'm doing it on a US 7. That was what I used for this. And I thought, I know it's going to be thick. It's going to be a warm blanket out of this. So I thought, well, maybe I could do a stockinette garter square. Or mitered square. No. It's misshapen. It's weird. Now, I did do garter edges on this for some reason. I'm not sure why I did that, because I wouldn't have to. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So, no. We went back to the garter mitered square. So then I did a green one. Like that. And it looks fine. Love it. And then I thought, well, I wonder if going up a needle size would help with the, oh, actually I did a gold one also. So I had done all 3 sizes, or all 3 colors. Okay. And they were taking about 16 grams of yarn per square. That's important. We'll get back to that. Anyway, but then I thought, well, you know what? Instead of doing it so that I'm doing this slip, knit, and knit 2 together to do the decrease along this center diagonal, what if I did it with a double double decrease? Because I see that a lot, especially in the little like scrappy granny square blankets. And I thought, well, that could be cute. And so I did a square like that. And it is okay, but I don't love it. And then I also had gone up a needle size. So I went up to an 8 on this. And I don't like the fabric as well. I do like it more on the 7. So I thought, no, not on this. So then I tried it on a 7 with the vertical double decrease. And it's fine. It just, that vertical double decrease adds a structure to the square that I don't really want there. Like it makes it just that part of it is just weird. It feels weird. It doesn't have the same drape as this. Like this is very fluid. This just feels like I can feel like, see, it wants to bend in on that, whereas it does not do that with this. It's nice and flat. So I feel like this is sort of misshaping this. So I decided against this. I will eventually just rip these two out and use the yarn again. So I'm sticking with these. I'm sticking with this design. However, it was funny because I sat down with Emma last night to watch, what were we watching? Arrested Development. We're finally in season 3. Oh, and here I had done like a little test of this too, just because, I don't know. And then I proceeded to knit another square with the 2 colors, but with that vertical double decrease instead of the SSK knit 2 together. So I had to rip that out this morning and I re-knit it. So we're good. And then I've now started another one. Wrong side again. There we go. So it's coming along. I have a plan now. I have a plan. However, here's all the details of the plan. Oh shit. Oh God. I just, sorry. I just dropped that little tiny square in my adult beverage. I'm a mess, folks. Okay, sit there. Okay, so here's the deal. I need, let's see. Okay, they're 6-inch squares. They're taking 16 grams of yarn each. These balls are supposed to be 100 grams. I've weighed several of them now. None of them are 100 grams. They're anywhere between 94 grams and 99 grams. So I am averaging, rather than weighing all these balls of yarn, I'm saying they've all probably on average got at least 95 grams, which means I am only going to get about 5 squares out of a ball of yarn. Now obviously there'll be leftovers that I can put together, but you know, just figuring that out. So then I calculated how many squares I'm going to need, because I've got 6-inch squares, and I want this blanket to be 6 feet tall, so 72 inches tall by 4.5 feet wide, because that'll be a good size, I figure, for like a single bed. So that is what, 54 inches? Yeah, 72 by 54. I will need 108 6-inch squares. We won't do the math on the days yet. Just hang on. But then I was figuring out the yardage that I needed for that, or grams that I would need for that, and I realized I did not have nearly enough yarn with those 12 balls of yarn that I had, because I'm only getting 5 squares per ball. I mean, I know I'm getting a little bit more than that, but to play it safe, I'm trying to be conservative here so I don't run out of yarn. So 5 times 10 is, no, 5 times 10 is 50, plus another 2 is 10. So it's 60. That's 60 squares. I would definitely get 60 squares. I need 108. So that's 48 more squares. So I needed more yarn. I went to the Loopy Use website where I'd purchased all this yarn originally. They only had 2 balls of the green, the bright green, and 2 balls of the gold left. Wasn't enough. So I went to Webs. They did not have either of these colors in stock at all. So then I just started doing a web search. And I found, what was the name of the place? Wool and Company. Wool and Company. I feel like that's the name of an indie dyer too. Wool and Co. Wool and Company. I don't know. But this is a yarn shop, I believe, in Illinois. They had both of these colors and they had plenty of it. And so I ordered 5 more skeins of the green and 4 more of the gold, knowing that that was definitely going to be enough for all the squares. But I also need yarn to like join them all and to do a border, which I don't know what I'm doing for the border yet. And that may just end up, depending on how much time I have, I may end up doing a crochet border. I might do an I-cord edge around the whole thing. I don't know. But I needed to make sure I had the yarn. So I ordered that 2 days ago. It came today. Like, they were really quick. So kudos to them. So I now have 11 balls of the green and 10 balls of the gold. Plenty of yarn to do this. And I've got 6 balls of this really pretty green that Emma's like, hey, that's a really pretty green. I think that might have been a hint that, hey, I would like something made out of that. So I could do that at some point. I like it too. It is a pretty green. But anyway, so I've got the yarn. I have the yarn. I have the plan. The only thing I have not done yet is I want to put together like a graphic image. Like I'm going to do probably on a spreadsheet, you know, on, what's it called? Excel, my Excel program. I'm going to kind of make up a little grid just showing how I want to lay these squares out. So I know if I'm making the same number of the 2 solid colors and the stripy color, or if I need more of one than others. I have to figure that part out yet, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I also know that an option would be to do them on this, like have them turned on the diagonal, but that would mean I would need to do triangles at the corner and at the bottoms and the sides, and I don't think I want to do that. So I am pretty sure I'm going to do it this way, and I may just use those center lines as my my design element aspect of the blanket. That's kind of my plan. So that's what I've got going on right now. Now let's break it down into days. I need 108 squares. I think I have 4. Do I have 4? 3 or 4 with a 5th on the needles. I have a little over a month until I absolutely need to have this done, because he's coming up the very first week of August. I'm going to be away the very last weekend of July. So I want to have this whole thing done before I go away in July, at the end of July. So I don't know if I even calculated that right. I basically have to do 4 squares a day between now and the end of July and seam it and do whatever I'm going to do as a border. I did find a video for a really interesting way to seam these that makes it almost invisible, like you don't see the seam. And when I get to that point, if I use that video, I will put it in, or maybe I'll put it in the show notes here. I don't know. We'll see. But that's a possibility. Or I also found a video, I think it was on Instagram, of a really cool way to do a flat crochet join. Because sometimes when you join blocks with crochet, you get that raised ridge. At least I do. And apparently other people do, or somebody wouldn't have needed to make this video. But it was it was a flat crochet join, and it was really pretty. So I may try that. I don't know. We'll see. I don't mind seaming. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of ends to weave in on this, because I'm not leaving any of these ends long enough to actually do the seaming, because I'm not sure directionally how I'm going to do the seaming. So I am going to just start weaving in ends as I go, so that won't be an issue at the end of the blanket. But I don't mind doing seaming. I'm fine with seaming. The edge, the border could be more of a trial for me, but we'll see how that goes at the time. But anyway, I feel good about where I'm at. I'm super optimistic. Now, if I could fit in a few days here and there where I can just sit, excuse me, sit and knit and work on these, that would be awesome, because then I could just bang out a bunch in a day. I have not timed myself as to how long it takes me to knit one of these squares. I want to say about an hour, but that may not be accurate, because usually when I'm knitting, I'm not just knitting, I'm like doing other stuff, and I'm sitting down, have to stop for a minute, this, that, heat up my coffee, whatever. So I'm going to say maybe 45 minutes. That's probably pretty accurate. So if I could like have a few days where I could really bang out a lot of these, that would be amazing. But even if I can't, I think I'm okay with the amount of time that I have. The sun is now coming in at a really, really weird angle. Here, let's back up. Okay, so that is that. That is what I absolutely have to work on. Everything else is on indefinite hold, unless I find that I have some time that I have to do something. The only exception to that, and it's not yet a whip, but it will be becoming a whip on July 1st, that is my Tour de Fleece spinning. I told you last time I really, really want to do Tour de Fleece this year. Actually, I don't know that I said I really, really want to do it. I think I just said I think I'm going to do it. But I really, really want to do it. I did do a members video a week or so ago where I had pulled out a bunch of fiber and I went through the fiber with my members on the members video. So if you decide that you'd like to be a member of the channel, you can go back and watch that along with what other members videos are out there. But I did pull out a whole bunch of fiber and I have a plan for that as well. Out of all the fiber that I had taken out as possibilities to work with, I decided to work with fibers that I have dyed, like Fiber Nymph Dye Work fibers. So that is what I'm going to be spinning for Tour de Fleece. And I think I'm going to kind of do it sort of as a combo spin, but not completely as a combo spin. Yeah, I will talk more about that once Tour de Fleece starts, and I will definitely show you all the fibers that I'm going to be working on and what my plan is for that. I don't have any illusion that I am going to get through all of the fiber that I have pulled out, because at best I plan to spin maybe a half hour a day. I'm going to dedicate to that. Probably no more, because again, these squares aren't going to knit themselves. So I'm dedicating the time from now to July 1st to these squares for sure. And then once July 1st gets here, I'm going to be dedicating my time to knitting the squares, but also to spinning about a half hour a day, probably first thing in the morning after Bill leaves for work. And I'll see how far I can get. I think it'll just be fun. I'm looking forward to spinning some of these fibers, because most of them are ones that I've dyed a long time ago and they've just been in my stash. So I'm really looking forward to getting to them. Okay, so that is it. That is the status of the projects and what's going on. I don't really know how exciting that's going to make podcasts for the foreseeable future, but hopefully you'll at least be here to cheer me on with these blanket squares, and you'll enjoy seeing whatever else I get up to. Yeah, that's just how it is right now. So the other thing that is still going on this year, though, is the Stop Shitting on Yourself Mal make along, which I too am taking part in, just sort of unofficially, since, you know, I can't win prizes or anything, but I am trying to participate in it. Also kind of alongside the Another Year of Stash that Carol from A Stitch in Time is doing, and her Yarn of the Month, the personal Yarn of the Month club part of that, which obviously I'm behind because I'm behind in my own personal stash yarn challenge, which is sort of my version of that part of her knit along. Anyway, the Stop Shitting on Yourself make along is going on all year. I announced the winners for May in the last episode. I did hear from everybody, so thank you. Hopefully you all have your stuff by now. And I will do the June winners probably on the next regular episode. But apart from the prizes, just taking part, and it's a lot of fun. It's a pretty chatty little group on Ravelry if you want to take part there. There's also an Instagram component to it. And the whole concept of it is to try to help us focus on things that we really want to do, the things that will bring us joy, rather than the projects that we feel like we should be working on for whatever reason that maybe don't bring us as much joy. There's always going to be those, but you know, there's a balance, and you need to have some things that really, really, you know, make you happy too. There's also going to be projects like this blanket that, like, I need to do it. I want to do it because I promised it to my grandson, but I really want to do it too. Like, it's going to bring me joy to make it. So anyway, I have not gone through my wish list for that make along in a while. I kind of wanted to do that before I sat down here today, but I didn't have a chance. But I do know that the Afghan, the blanket, was on there as one of the things that I was going to do this year. I had garments, a bunch of garments, which I've only done one so far, but that's okay. The year's not over, and I'm sure I will get to some more. Another big component to mine, though, was using stash. And so I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job of that, even though I did have to buy a buttload of yarn for this blanket. Seriously, like, most expensive blanket ever? Well, probably not, but like, I spent way more on yarn for this than I was thinking I was going to, but it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Although when I bought that the green yarn, the first batch of green yarn from the Loopy U, in order to get free shipping, I had to buy something else. So I bought a couple. I didn't take them out of the plastic yet, but it's some Malabrigo Rios. I love having Rios on my shelf because it's a great yarn to use for like gifts, you know, for people who aren't going to hand wash things. Anyway, this is Tranquilo and Bobby Blue. They look like they would go together because there is some blue in this. Can't really see it in there. Anyway, so some unintentional new stash. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I'm doing okay with my, like I have not lost sight of that stop shitting on yourself thing. But that's also sort of weirdly why I'm letting some things go into indefinite, you know, on hold, because I don't want to feel like I have to keep working on those right now when those aren't the things that are at the top of my priority list. You know, just because I have these monthly goals of trying to use up this personal stash yarn challenge yarn, like I don't want that to become a burden on me, right? I want to do it because I enjoy it, but if it's going to become a burden, then that's taking the fun away from it. And so I will get back to it. But the blanket and Tour de Fleece, those are going to be my two priorities for the foreseeable future. And that's fine. Okay, I think that is probably everything really for all of the normal content. I told you about all of the shop stuff already at the top of the video, the top of the show. There are a lot of project sets, like I said. There's still a lot of self-striping and inversibles too. And I forgot to mention last time, I think I forgot to mention, I'm running a free shipping offer for any US orders, regardless of, there's no minimum. So if you want to hop in the shop and just get like one skein of yarn, you can get shipping for free if it's going to a US address. So that's happening. The Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club, those pre-order, not really pre-order sign-ups, but it's a shop listing. Wow, it has gotten really dark outside. Look how weird the lighting is all of a sudden. Yikes. Anyway, that is going up in the shop on Friday, June 30th. The Wheel of the Trees pre-order is open through Wednesday of this coming week, which would be what? 28th? 27th, 28th, I don't know, whatever this coming Wednesday is. Sorry. Yeah, so that's what's happening. I have to keep moving because the sun is just being weird. Anyway, I think I'm finished. That's everything going on. Craft-wise, anyway, craft-wise, shop-wise. What else? This week was a motorcycle week for me. I ended up having to take 3 of my bikes, our bikes, but they're the 3 that I ride, to get inspected. I usually do not have to do that task. Bill's usually on top of that, but this year has been weird because a few of these 3 especially fell due for inspection while we were away on our bicycle trip, so we were a little behind. And because his schedule is crazy and he's got a lot to do around here, I said, I can do some of them. I don't know why I said that. I mean, I could. I did it. I successfully took these 3 bikes all in one day down to the guy who inspects for us. It's so outside of my comfort zone to do something like that. I don't know why, because I have the skills. I'm capable of doing this, but I don't know. But anyway, I did that, and it felt really good because when I was done with doing it on Tuesday, I was like, I did that. The thing is, where the guy's shop is, it's off this little side road, and then there's like gravel at the bottom part of his driveway before it's paved. And I don't like riding motorcycles on gravel. That is not my jam. So I always get a little freaky. But I did it. It was fine. The guy's kind of funny. He's not super chatty. And he's just sort of this big gruff guy. But by the 3rd bike, we were just chatting like old friends. So it was fine. So I built up a lot of confidence in my riding because I haven't been on my motorcycles a whole lot this year. And so then Wednesday, I'm like, you know what? I had a good time yesterday. I need to run down to the farm stand. So I'm going to just, take my one bike out, my newer one that I haven't ridden very much. And that's the one that I have the least confidence on just because it's newer. Bill can hop on any bike and feel just fine. I'm still very much, I need to learn this bike particularly. So anyway, I got on that bike and it was fun. It's a fun bike to ride. And I got on it, went down to the farm stand, got to the farm stand, got what I needed, came back out, was putting my stuff in the boxes on the bike to bring the stuff home. And I had my little purse that I had taken with me, just this little, square thing. That's not a square. It's a rectangle. Small rectangular pursey wallet thing, like the size of a Notion pouch, that I had my phone in and my keys and debit card and all that stuff. And so I put all that stuff in there, got my helmet and my jacket out of the top box, threw my little purse in the top box, closed it, it went click, and I immediately realized that I had just locked my motorcycle key in my top box. And I couldn't get it out because the key for the top box was also in the top box. That will not build confidence. So I'm like, I have to call Bill. Except my phone was also in the top box. I'm like, oh my God. Luckily, Bill's cell phone number is the only cell phone number that I have memorized. Like, who memorizes cell phone numbers these days? They're all in our phones, right? His is the only phone number I know off by heart. Seriously, I barely know our home phone number off by heart because I never use it. I don't call it. I don't use it as a contact number for anything. I use my cell phone number for everything. So my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to ask a stranger to use their cell phone. And I'm starting to freak out and I'm looking around kind of crazy eyed and I'm like, oh, who looks kind? Who will let me use their phone? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Lisa, you're at a place of business. I'll bet they have a phone. Maybe you should go ask. So I went and asked the woman who was the one owner of the farm stand. I told her what happened, and I'm trying to be very cognizant that I'm freaked out and I'm having a moment, and I did not want to just crazy person word vomit on her. And so I was trying to be very slow with my talking and just be calm, and she was very nice. And she's like, yes, you can use our phone. She also offered me a coat hanger, which I had to explain that would not help in this situation, but thank you. So I called Bill's cell phone. He did not pick up. So that meant he was either driving home from work, which would be great, or he was at work and busy and couldn't answer, and he was going to be another hour and a half. So then I called home. Took me 3 tries to get our house phone number right. I want to blame that just on nerves. We'll go with that. Left a message for him at home. And then tried his cell phone again, and he did pick up that time. And I'm like, hey, I took a bike, went down to the farm stand. Bike's fine. Told him which bike it was, the new bike. Bike's fine, but I locked my keys in the top box. And he's like, huh, that's kind of inconvenient. I'm like, yes, it is. Can you bring me the other set of keys? He's like, yeah, I'll be down, but it's going to probably be about 45 minutes because I just left work. Fine. So I stood there. It was a nice day. Stood there, looked at the fish in the creek that's right by the parking lot. I was trying to do deep breathing. I thought, okay, this is the universe's way of just making me take some downtime, take the me time, do that breathing, cleansing breath. Meanwhile, I'm thinking these people are coming and going and they're seeing me just standing here. They're probably thinking I'm some nut job. But some people would come over and chat with me. Oh, you see any fish? Oh, yeah. Oh, look, there's a snake in the water. There was a snake in the water. It was so cool. I had been watching the snake more than the fish. But anyway. And then Bill finally came down with the keys. We got the box open. I got my keys out. He's like, yeah, maybe don't do that again. I'm like, yeah, trying not to. But so it was a good ride. It was just, I locked my keys in, which wasn't fabulous. But, stuff happens. And, who of us has not locked ourselves out of something, a car or the house or whatever? It happens. So anyway, could have been worse, right? But at least I got some more experience riding my bike. And if the weather would ever permit, I might ride it some more. But we've had so much rain this week, it's been insane. Crazy. And the garden is full of weeds, and I need to get down there and weed. And then Emma and I need to plant, because we went down the next day back to the farm stand, and the lady's like, oh, did you get your bike home? I'm like, yes, I got home, thank you. Anyway, so she was kind, but we bought a whole bunch of flowers because their flowers are on clearance. So now we're gonna plant a bunch of flowers around the garden, and hopefully that'll keep the groundhog out. Anyway, I need it to stop raining. But anyway, I hope you are having a good week. I hope you're having a good weekend. Actually, it's Saturday. Whatever you're doing, I hope it's enjoyable and you're having some good weather. And what are you working on? Are you working on any really big, have-to-do-it kind of projects, like deadline-y things? Are you finding joy in them? I hope you are. And are you doing Tour de Fleece? I would love to know what you're spinning. Yeah, so tag me in a comment on Ravelry or Instagram or in the comments here on YouTube and let me know what's up. Anyway, I'll talk to you again in another week or two. Until then, love you guys. See you later. Bye.